Okay, so what happens when a TV show that everybody was talking about just becomes real? Today, we're going to break down how one of the world's biggest YouTubers took a global sensation and created one of the most ambitious real-life competitions we have ever seen. It all kicks off with this number, 456. And no, these weren't actors. We're talking about 456 regular people from all walks of life brought together to play in a game that was just absolutely massive. For a digital creator to pull this off, it was completely unheard of. And this is what they were all there for, a life-changing $456,000 for just one winner, $1,000 for every single person in the game. But for everyone else, they'd go home with nothing. The stakes were just unbelievably high from the very beginning. So that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? How on earth did a YouTuber manage to pull off a project of this insane scale and create one of the most viral videos in the history of the internet? Let's get into it. The guy behind all of this was the creator, mrbeast, and his goal was, well, it was audacious, to say the least. He wanted to do something nobody had ever even tried, bring the smash hit show, Squid Game, into the real world, with real people and a real massive cash prize. The budget for this was just astronomical. I mean, contestants were flown in from all over the US to compete on these gigantic sets that were painstakingly built to look exactly like the show. From that creepy giant doll to the tiered bunk beds, the attention to detail was just staggering. It was all designed to make the players feel like they were really in it. All right, so you've got 456 players. The first thing you got to do is thin the herd, right? So the very first games were designed for one reason, and one reason only, to slash the number of contestants, and fast. It was all about immediately separating the people who could handle this kind of intense pressure. So that first massive cut came from two games you'll definitely recognize. It all started with red light, green light, that childhood game, but turned into this super high stakes test of just not moving a muscle. And right after that, they went straight into the honeycomb challenge, which was just a brutal test of steady hands and calm nerves. And the impact of that first game, it was just wild. Seriously, look at these numbers. They started with 456 people, and in just one round, they were down to 232, almost half the players gone, just like that. Talk about a brutal but super efficient way to crank up the pressure from the get-go. And the pressure just kept building. The honeycomb challenge was pure distilled tension. Can you imagine trying to do this delicate little task, knowing that hundreds of thousands of dollars are on the line? One little crack, one slip up, and your dream is completely over. But, after these first few games that were all about pure skill, the whole competition took a sharp turn. It shifted, and the game started to test something totally different. Your strategy, your alliances, and whether you were willing to turn on them to survive. This middle chunk of the game was really defined by two major challenges. First up, you had Tug of War, which was this raw test of teamwork and brute strength. And then came the game that, let's be honest, gave us the most heartbreaking, gut-wrenching moments of the entire thing, marbles. And this right here, this shows you the cruel genius of the marbles game. They told everyone, hey, find a friend, partner up with someone you trust. So you do. And then moments later, they drop the bomb. Now you have to play against that person, and only one of you is making it through. I mean, friendships and alliances just shattered in an instant. It was absolutely brutal to watch. So with the field whittled down to just a handful of finalists, the last games became this nail-biting gauntlet. It was all about luck, nerve, and pure willpower. At this stage of the game, any single mistake could be the difference between going home with nothing and winning it all. Next on the list, the glass bridge. So here, players had to make their way across this high-up bridge by picking between two glass panels. One was safe, the other was not. It was literally a 50-50 shot, and if you guessed wrong, you took a dramatic fall into a huge foam pit below. The tension was just off the charts. And after all the crazy strategies, the emotional betrayals, and the insane high-tech games, the entire $456,000 prize came down to this. A good old-fashioned, frantic game of musical chairs. It was such a simple, almost absurdly low-tech way to end it all, where everything came down to pure reflex and a little bit of luck. So, as you can imagine, this video just exploded. It became a cultural phenomenon, getting hundreds of millions of views. So, what was the secret sauce here?
What made this thing such a viral sensation? Let's break down that winning formula.
It really all boiled down to this powerful mix of three key things. First, you had the Hollywood-level production value of the sets. It was a spectacle. Then you had the very real, life-changing stakes with that huge cash prize. But the most important piece? The raw, unscripted human drama of regular people having to make these impossible choices. It was just the perfect storm for a viral hit. And after all the trials, all the eliminations, and all the heartbreak, one person was left standing. One single contestant outlasted 455 other people to claim that incredible grand prize. Their life completely changed forever and one of the most watched videos ever made. It kind of leaves you with this really big question, right? This whole project totally blurred the lines between a scripted TV show and a real-life game in a way that, well, we've never really seen before. It really makes you wonder, as entertainment gets bigger and more immersive and more real, where does it go from here? Just how far can this thing go?